If you've tried building something and you feel like you're fighting the tool rather than your data, then this video is for you. ThoughtSpot just dropped some serious upgrades to its visualization engine, and in this video we are going to discuss about that in detail. We will be talking about faceting, trellis charts, dual axis syncs, smart defaults. Basically, your charts now adapt to your data and not other way around. So without any further ado, let's get started. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more such amazing content coming ahead.
You might be thinking, like, why do we even need to introduce new charts in the first place, right? And There are a couple of reasons for it. One is that the new charts that we are introducing are powered by ThoughtSpot in-house charting library called Muse. It's a library that's based on grammar of graphics. So the visualization engine that powers Tableau is also based on grammar of graphics. Plus, there are a lot of popular charting libraries like Vega, ggplot. All of these are based on this very cool paradigm. And what these paradigm enables is that it enables you to break down any visualization into mathematical equations or mathematical constructs. And this empowers you to play around with a lot of layers, access configurations, ways in which you can condense and present information on a chart. So these pieces really enable a very superior charting experience. So you are not limited by any binding constructs which a typical high level charting library has. And you can sort of go ahead and compose any charts that you want with the flexibility that something with grammar of graphics typically gives you. And with the new charts, we are bringing in a lot of new features like facet modes or cross tab modes, trellis charts, small multiple charts, a lot of new axis types. And we are also bringing in a lot of new granular controls in terms of the different aspects of visualization, ranging from axis settings, label settings, legend settings. So all of these pieces that essentially form a visualization, you now have granular and more detailed control on each of these pieces, so you can create like highly sophisticated visualizations. So yeah, that's a brief about the new charts. And the new charts are available in early access starting 26.2. So I can minimize this probably. And so when you turn on the early access feature for new charts, you will see a new charts library over here, which are the 9 new Cartesian charts that we are introducing as early access for this phase. And yeah, let's go one by one. So one of the first pieces, like one of the core pieces that we are introducing with these new charts are three different type of axes. So we are introducing three types of axes. One is an individual axis, second is a grouped axis, and third is a dual axis. So individual axis is very simple. Let's say if I just had one measure and one attribute over here, and if this was the measure, then each measure is having a standalone axis to represent its own information, and uh, bars also have their magnitudes aligned to the same axis. Now, let's say if you had one more measure which was not directly linked to the measure that you're visualizing here, and you wanted a separate chart for it or a separate axis for it, what you can do is you can drag this chip for the second measure and place it over here, and you will see that you now have two individual axes. So you have two chart panes, both of them have an axis of their own, and this view is called a multivariate chart. So whenever you have measures which are not strongly correlated, you don't want to see them grouped adjacent side by side, what you can do is you can split them up into different chart panes, and each chart pane can have an axis of their own. So this is a multivariate view, and you can add n number of measures over here. So let's say if I add one more measure, I can have a multivariate chart over here with three different axes for each chart pane. So this is the first type of axis that we're introducing. This is an individual axis. And obviously the goal with these charts is that previously you had to code them up with Muse Studio, but now pieces like this are readily available to you through the UI without needing to code them out. So this is the abstraction that we wanted to achieve with the 9 new charts, that a lot of new capabilities without the effort of coding them up every single time. So yeah, these are your individual axes. We also have something called as a grouped axis, which is the good old way of representing information. So let's say if I want all of these bars to be adjacent to each other for each of them, I can simply drag a measure into another measure, and you will see that I have a bucket called grouped axis, which encompasses of these two measures. I can obviously add more measures inside it. And once I do that, you'll see that I have grouped bars. Okay, maybe I can change the x-axis over here. So yeah, if I drag this over here, you'll see that I have grouped bars. And this is just by dragging measures into each other and creating this grouped bar bucket. So yeah, this is the second kind of access config that we have. Similarly, we also have a third, and these are again very good for representing like strongly related measures, things that you want. So let's say if you are doing a trend comparison, or if you're doing a comparison of multiple measures across regions or ship modes or anything of that sort, you can use a grouped axis, and you can simply drag measures into each other, change their order internally as well, and the bar orders get changed. So these are your grouped axes. We have one more kind of axis, which is the dual axis. So dual axis essentially is useful for cases like your bullet charts, where you are comparing two different measures like sales and target sales, but you are comparing them on an absolute basis. So you need to see how has my sales fared up against the target that I've set. And for cases like that, what you can do is you can simply convert a grouped axis into a dual axis. And once you hit that compare button, you have an option. You have the header for this bucket changed to group axis dual. So when you update that, you will see that both of these measures, total sales and average sales, are superimposing each other. Now to surface the one that has been hidden, what I'll do is I'll change the opacity of this. I'll also change the width. So let me change the width. Okay, let's do this. So now if you see, these are like your bullet structures. So probably this could be target, this could be the actual. So you can see, okay, how far is my actual sales from my target sales? So anything that requires you to add like references or targets or goals, you can use the bullet charts. So these are things that you can achieve with dual axis. So these are the three different kind of axes that we have introduced with these new charts. So yeah, that's all about axis. And with access, you can essentially, what you can also do is you can go crazy and like create a lot of different chart types. So let's say if I wanted a dual axis over here and a multivariate on top of it, I can have a chart like that. I can add one more, let's say average quantity purchased. And what I can also do is I can create multiple groups. So let's say if I put this in and update it, you will see I have two chart panes. One is a group chart, one is a bullet chart. So I can have essentially any combinations. I can have multiple group charts, multiple bullet charts, multiple independent charts. Like all of these combinations are possible with different axis composition rules. So yeah, this is all about access. With these new charts, you get a lot of new flexibility and you can play a lot in terms of experimenting with different access configurations. So yeah, this is all about access configs. We also have two new chart modes. One is the faceting or cross tabbing chart. So anybody that's typically come from a Tableau world would know that Tableau has this construct of rows and columns. And the moment you add more attributes in rows or columns, it creates these grids. So let's say if I add product over here, it will create these grid-like structures. So for East, it created a grid where every product is there. And similarly, once all my products for East, oh, sorry, let me just open that up again. Let me do region and state. Yeah, so let me just pull in region over here. And you will see that for all the regions, I have its state inside that region into these well organized grids. So this makes the chart comprehension super easy. Like you can easily figure out, okay, for East, I have to have a look at these 5 or 6 states, same for Midwest, same for South, Southwest. So these make the charts much more organized and easy to consume. So this is one mode that we have. The second thing that we have is a trellis mode. So trellis mode is basically small multiples. So let's add something else as well. And I'll pull this over here. So let's say I wanted to see my sales of product across different regions. So what I can have now is I can have small multiples for each region. So for West, I could see what are the different sales for East and for so on and so forth. And this is specifically helpful when I have things like if I want to see trends. So let's say if I want to see yearly trends for all the 5 regions. If I would have had it in a single chart, it would have been very hard for me to comprehend. Versus if I'm able to get multiple smaller charts for each region, it becomes very easy for me to understand, okay, what's the trend that's playing out across different regions. So probably, yeah, this chart is a better representation. So, okay, South is increasing, Midwest is increasing, Southwest is increasing. Okay, East is stagnant or decreasing, West is decreasing. So deciphering these patterns across regions became super easy. Whereas if I would have had a very noisy chart, it would have been very tricky to understand, okay, what's the trend for this region versus that region. So things like Trellis, which typically require a lot of coding in Muse or even in Tableau, it requires you to do a lot of configuration, are now available to you out of the box with these new charts. So yeah, this is all about the new chart modes that we have. One is faceting and the second is Trellis charts. And then we have a bunch of enhancements around making the tooltips richer. So let's take an example. So we have a bunch of new configurations that we've introduced, and those are across things like tooltips, data labels. So one is obviously the tooltip piece, where earlier tooltips used to be very straightforward. It used to have minimal data, but now you have the option to have granular data. So if you want to like see what state is contributing what percentage to this total bar, you can also see that granularity. So if you want to compare slices, you can easily compare slices, which slice has the highest contribution versus which slice has like a lower contribution. So those comparisons become very easy. You have a bunch of settings which are for data labels. So I can remove this as well. And for data labels, we have new settings like, do you want the data labels to be outside the bar, inside the bar, at center of the bar? And what is the orientation? So let's say earlier what used to happen is when you had too many data points, because of anti-collision algorithms kicking in, you would actually end up seeing very few data points. Versus if you have them vertically aligned, you can accommodate a lot more data points if you have collision or more number of data points in the viewport. So granular settings like these, like we have display settings to show grand total bars. So if you want to see totals, and these can also be enabled on facet levels or the crosstab levels and on the grand total chart level. So we have a bunch of new settings. These are already displayed, like the color, opacity. So we have a lot of new settings across all of these different aspects of visualization, which enable a lot more richer visualizations and give you more granular control on each and every aspect. So you can make a lot more sophisticated charts. So yeah, these are some of the core enhancements. And then we also have a bunch of chart specific enhancements. And these chart specific enhancements are typically made to cater to some of the requests, to majority of requests for which people have previously coded up custom charts or new studio charts. So things like I have multiple measures in my y-axis, but I can't slice them. So for something like that, that simple, people have built custom charts or Muse charts in the past. And what we want to now enable is you can achieve that easily with these new charts. So let's say if I have something like this, I can have multiple stacked charts. So I can have a stacked chart for sales, I can have a stacked chart for quantity. I can also add average sales to the mix, and it will create a third stack chart. So even when you have multiple measures on y-axis, you will now be able to slice with color. Similarly, so yeah, this is like you can have multiple stack charts, and this gives you the flexibility to create many more such combinations. And similarly, in case of, let's say, a line column chart, earlier what people typically wanted is that I want to have two measures getting shown as bars and one measure as a line. And earlier that was not possible, but now even that is possible. So I have two explicit buckets over here, one for column measures, one for line measures, and I can drag any number of measures in either of these buckets. So when I do this, you'll see that now we have two bars and one line. So yeah, the bars are slightly smaller due to the magnitude difference, but there are two bars and one line, and I can have a third one also going in here. So we now have resolved these common limitations across all of these charts. You can slice with, so you can slice when there are multiple measures. You can create a lot of different axis configurations. You can have multiple column measures, multiple line measures. So yeah, these are essentially some of the key improvements that we've made across all the different charts. And yeah, the sole purpose is that a lot of these capabilities uh, needed to be coded up, and now you have them available through UI where you can configure them very easily in a very intuitive way by managing these access configs and the bunch of settings that we've exposed.
So this was the deep dive of ThoughtSpot's new charting library and visualization engine. And honestly, composable charts and smart transforms are the game changer in the BI world. If you want to try out any of these themselves or you want to read about them, I'll put the links in the description. And if you have any doubts, make sure you tell me in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer. This was all for this particular video. See you in another one on this channel. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for amazing content coming ahead.